started my day here in this room. I'm in my day here in this room.
Yeah, well, yeah, you did, yeah, you did. Yikes.
So from now till Saturday.
Sydney?
Sleep, sorry.
It's a minute. Could have been 9 more. Say 5 is up.
Yeah.
It says it's
Welcome. I'll call the Monday, March 18th Common Council meeting to order. The first thing on the agenda is the invocation. And Jack, thank you, sir.
Let's bow our heads. Father God, we gather together tonight to address the business of the city of Warsaw. We thank you for the blessings of committed elected officials, department heads, and especially for the many employees dedicated to serve the public. We humbly ask for knowledge and wisdom as we deliberate the issues before us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you very much, Jack. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You can see it. Mike Klondaris, the next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, it's the minutes from the 3/4/24 meeting. Wanted to note that I didn't forget it this time.
Okay, good job. You're learning.
You're
learning.
Oh,
And since you brought that up, I'll make a motion that we approve these minutes.
okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Jerry?
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Because I read them.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
That was a great segue.
Want to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting again. I even have a few students in the back. Feel free to raise, yeah, Grace College students, so keeping an eye on the teacher tonight. So welcome to everybody. Reports oral and written. Lynn, it looks like you have the February fund report. Any comments?
There's nothing to really comment about on the fund report, other than we
Thank
still
you,
have
sir.
money in those funds. Which is always a good thing.
Any questions for Lynn? Any questions? Any motions? No, no motion needed. Okay, thank you. There is no unfinished business, so that'll take us to new business. ARPA revised spending plan, if you would, take a look at that. The public didn't have access to it, but you can open up the attachment, and I want to thank Lynn. A lot of work has been done here. We continue to move through ARPA funding, planning, and then now proposed spending. You'll see on the left, from the beginning, best effort, planning, how can we wisely spend these dollars? And then you'll see on the right, Lynn again has done an excellent job of placing dollars that make up the proposed spending. Are there any questions that you have about that? Trying to stay on target from planning in the past, but as things have been changing, you'll see some of the redirected dollars down at the bottom left. Again, Lynn's done a great job communicating with me, and you'll now see the proposed spending plan on the right in green. Lynn, any comments, or just appreciate your work on this?
No, I don't have any comments. Some of the, like the very first one, the emergency streetlight replacement, will Dustin's all done with that, and that was the leftover funds, so that's why we redirected the rest of that money to other areas. In the mental health initiative, there's the money we spent so far for the CARES coordinators, and then some money left over that Captain Beam would like to use for his app, for critical incident app, and he can talk to you more about that. And then there's also an item there for elements for the Citizen Connect software, and I think Jeff knows about that if you have questions about that.
Looks like, I think Dustin Dillon is here, also from Public Works. He could talk about a project that is connected to the neighborhood infrastructure. It's just over $500,000. You can see there's a large amount of money in green on the right, air quality public spaces. It's connected to this building and issues that we've been having. And so some dollars have been redirected there. Any questions on any of them? Been asked by our attorney, if you don't have any questions, if you do, again, we have several department heads and individuals here that can answer questions for you. We'd like to have you take action on this and approve it as our proposed spending plan moving forward.
I'll make a motion, we approve the ARPA revised spending plan as presented this evening.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
There's a motion by Diane and a second by Cindy. Any questions or comments before we call the question? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you for that. And again, keep in touch.
Thank you.
Lynn and the department heads will do much better than I will, but we'll do the best we can to keep you informed as we move forward. The next item on the agenda, Warsaw Little League. Cindy, Jack, you guys want to help us out with this grant application?
Yes, I sure do. We received an application from the Warsaw Little League to replace some scoreboards. The original quote was for $21,628.96. And if we approve 80% of that, that would be for $17,303.17. I know we felt very interested in seeing that we find a way to help the Warsaw Little League since we changed the not-for-profit applications over the past year. And I think this is probably one of the ways that we could make their life a little bit easier by replacing some outdated scoreboards. We have two representatives here, Tony and Mike, and they would be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Cindy, if I may, I'd like to make one comment. The members have gotten this paper right here. It's supposed to be a summary. Cindy pointed out to me that the amount that they were asking for, the 80%, I incorrectly put down as $19,000, it's $17,303. So I just want to make that correction up front before questions are asked. So, back to Cindy.
Tony or Mike, do either of you want to say anything about
We're
this course?
working with ancient equipment, so anything you guys can help us with, just going straight back to the kids' benefit. Equipment that Jeff and I played under a while ago. So it's time. We've got the money for it, but it's time to move on. So
Okay. Approximately how many young people go through the program each
we'll do
year?
about 400 kids this year. In spring, another 250 in fall. We do some, the high school
What?
practice.
I'm going to interrupt you because I want everybody to be able to hear you. Come on up front, right?
yeah,
No, that's all right. You're
yeah.
doing great. You're
Sure.
doing great. But this will also help with the record and
Yeah.
recording, so,
I'm sorry. I should
no,
have
that's
thought
fine.
of
I
that.
should have. Thank you.
So yeah, we do about 450 kids every spring or so, girls and boys, softball and baseball. We'll do 250 to 300 in fall, which is another 8-week program. Do a little bit of hosting of some travel tournaments. There'll be some rentals, some softball rentals. We keep the park fairly full, probably 50,000 total people in and out turnstile every year. So it's a pretty hopping place. 73rd year of existence, so we're still going strong, and everything you can do to help us goes a long way. Any specific questions?
The CCAC had some, also had a request for some scoreboards. Can you explain to us a little bit about your scoreboards?
Well, I mean,
How they're operated? Are they
Oh,
corded?
so we have very antiquated ones where they are literally hardwired from the press boxes. If you know our quad layout, you have a concession stand in the middle, 4 fields, press boxes you climb up in on an old ladder. You run the box, which is an old, 1990s era box. We're replacing them with some wireless Bluetooth type. It's just going to be a total upgrade. So they're basically ball strikes, outs, runs, simple ones. We're going to get one big one for our big full-size field, which is going to be a little more full-fleshed out. But there's nothing exciting about them, but they need to work. So we've gotten our money's worth, but it's time now. So, but that's the basics of them. Did that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
One question I had too, as I was looking through the quote, and I know there was quite a little bit for installing them as far as electrical and
We'll
so
leave some of
forth,
that.
but do you have some volunteers
Oh, well,
that
sure,
can
sure.
probably help with that?
We're here. The volunteers are here, yes.
Okay, the volunteers are here. Okay.
But mostly, yeah, we'll probably have another 10, 20% incidentals, but we know we're going to cover that, so that's okay. Anybody?
Does anyone else have any other questions or?
Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
I'm just glad we can help.
Yes. Do we need to do an
Well,
official?
yeah, I'll entertain a motion if you're comfortable with the request.
Well, since I botched the summary sheet, I'll make the motion that we approve ARPA money in the amount of $17,303.17 as 80% of the total project to the Warsaw Little League Incorporated.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and there's a second. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We'll now go to,
So,
I'm sorry.
just before we move on from the Warsaw Little League, we talked before about the upfront spending and how that's all changed by ordinance. So what I'm going to ask is if Warsaw Little League could inform us tonight, that'll help us for a Board of Works meeting, who they would like to designate as their purchasing agent for the Warsaw Little League, so that we have a contact and can approve the purchasing agent.
Okay.
Because that's the next step that we have to do to fund money for an advance if they need to spend some advance money on these scoreboards.
So a liaison during the process is what you're asking for? That'd be myself, that'd be Tony.
Yeah. So for the record, state your full name.
Sure, Anthony Clay.
Okay. All right, good.
And then I'll be contacted throughout for what you need. Okay, yeah. My number's on the grant, I believe. Is that correct?
Is this your email address too on the application?
Which one do you have on there, ma'am? Give me a start.
The comp guy?
That's me, yep. Anything
So
else?
we did approve it, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what we're going to ask you to do next is to provide Cindy with an invoice,
Okay,
and that invoice is to ask for first payment of
okay,
50% of the granted amount.
okay. Well, we're requesting 50% of what's been approved. Correct,
Right.
gotcha.
So you will give that to Cindy. She will review it, initial it, and move it on to the next
Okay.
step.
Easy enough, fair enough.
Yeah, so you can put that on a letterhead or.
We'll just invoice you right out of our QuickBooks.
And just
Yeah.
be as comprehensive on that invoice as you can.
Okay.
You can put like.
I'll
first
flesh it out for
installment
you.
Per agreement or something like that.
Sure, okay.
I can reach out to you via
Oh, here,
email
yeah.
with a little more
Let me know
detail
when you want
on
to get
that.
the process started.
Okay.
I'm pretty
Okay.
quick on that stuff, so. Anything else, guys?
Yeah.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So just as a reminder, to just catch everybody up, you recall the state had the change in paying for upfront, and so we're just going to have Warsaw Little League designate their purchasing agent, and that will be Tony. And then the Board of Works will be able to approve that he's allowed to make this advance payment when he submits an invoice to the Board of Works, and he can allow Lynn to cut a check for the 50%, so. Good?
Okay, the next item is another ARPA grant funding application, Habitat for Humanity. Cindy?
Yes, Habitat for Humanity is applying for funding to replace the roof on their, I believe that's their Restore Resale Outlet building, and that's on Corridor Drive. We did recommend, I know we had kind of said in the initial grant application that the anticipated range was $5,000 to $50,000. 80% of the cost of the roof is a little more than the $50,000, but in this situation, instead of splitting hairs, we did decide to recommend funding the full amount of $55,200. And I would ask Ben at this point in time to maybe step up to the microphone and just tell us a little bit about the Restore.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thank you so much, Cindy, and having me here tonight. I'm Ben Logan. I get the honor and privilege to serve as the executive director of Habitat for Humanity of Kosciuszko County. We're based in Warsaw. We serve the whole county. And we have what we call the resale outlet or the Restore. It's you might have seen one in Fort Wayne or Elkhart. They're all over. And basically, we call it the nonprofit Home Depot. So you have items that are being donated from businesses, from individuals, from people who are moving, downsizing, remodeling, contractors, tearing down lake homes, things like that. And we take those items and we're able to sell them below market rate and raise money for Habitat's operating expenses and to build homes here locally, both in Warsaw and throughout the county. So the roof is actually a metal roof over a 12,000 square foot building that holds not just the resale outlet, but also our corporate office and our construction warehousing space. We're all in one. And it would be to patch and repair the metal roof of this building, which we do own outright since about 3 or 4 years ago. We bought this building, and it has a few skylights in it. If you've ever messed with skylights, you know that they attract water and moisture and things. And we see this as an investment, not just in our largest asset, obviously our building, but the resale outlet provides the most consistent and the largest source of our operating revenue that we use to obviously be sustainable as we go out and build homes, which ever since COVID hit is becoming less and less affordable construction-wise. So that is what the grant is all about, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I know they have a build coming up perhaps a little bit later in this year near the Salvation Army headquarters. Salvation Army had donated some land, so we can look forward to having a home in the area of Warsaw this year.
Yep, and Salvation Army actually donated the land for our last Warsaw build as well, which was completed in 2022, right across the street from them.
And how many people do you estimate walk through your doors any given day or week or month or year?
We just actually compiled our annual report for Habitat, and we calculated that we sold about 30,000 items last year. So I don't know people-wise, but just the amount of transactions, yeah, it's a lot of people. And it works in a lot of many great ways. Is these items are avoiding the landfill, they're getting more eco-friendly reused, recycled use for it, and it's just a great place to find really affordable furniture, lighting, plumbing, appliances, cabinetry, literally just a little bit about everything, just not the clothing and books kind of section of it. And then the money raised goes back to supporting Habitat. So it works in a lot of different ways. It's been quite a blessing. And if you looked at our organization's growth trajectory, when we were able to open up the store about 5 years ago in May, we really started to have the consistency and cash flow and funding to start building more homes, which is obviously great to see as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I think it might be worth piggybacking off of what Cindy said. We had discussed having a $50,000 limit because we wanted to spread this money out to as many people and help as many organizations as we could. By deviating from our own rule and going for the full 80%, which is over that $50,000 limit, I feel that, or we felt in our committee that we have accomplished that first goal of helping as many people as we could by giving them the full 80%. I don't know if it needs to be approved by the council. It's coming to the council with our recommendation, right? We voted on it unanimously to do this, so I don't know if that's a topic for discussion or not, but this is our recommendation.
I'll need help with legal here, but you look at the grant application in line 2, I love the wording, and I can remember when we were going through this and it was being written, in the anticipated range of 5 to 50,000, which I think gives us what you're saying, and Cindy, that wiggle room to consider all factors, and in this situation, move out of that anticipated range, unique circumstances, and approve it. But any comments?
Yeah, I was part of those discussions, and we wanted there to be more for the grant applicants to have some idea of what the council might consider. You know, there's not a request too small. We'd take them $5,000 type stuff, and somewhere in anticipated 5 to 50. This seems very close to the anticipated range, and I think if you all approve it, you all approve it. It's anticipated range, and it could be bigger than that if you thought it was for a good cause. It could be less than the $5,000 if you thought that was for a good cause. It's why it's before the council at a public meeting, so y'all can approve what it is you think is best to approve with these funds, and it's up to you. But one quick question, Ben, would you be the purchasing agent for
Yes.
your company? Very
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion that we approve this ARPA fund grant in the amount of $55,200.
There's a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. There is a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Ben, you will be the point person, right? You're
Yes.
formally saying.
Yes,
okay,
I
to the
will.
board. You'll do that moving forward. Okay. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks for the good work you do.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on, I'd like to give a quick little report of where we are with the ARPA money for this particular area.
Thank you.
Having approved money now for CCAC, Salvation Army, Habitat for Humanities, Warsaw Little League, we have a remaining $40,985 left of ARPA funds. $40,985.37. So that's for your information. I know you're going to be asking, so there it is.
I was going to ask.
I was gonna say something to you that you had about 100, you spent about 140,000, so.
And the applications need to be in by October of 2024, is that correct?
October 30.
2026, but I don't think it's.
Well, applications need to be in
Oh,
by
applications,
Yes,
yes, by
October
then,
31st, 2024.
2024.
Paid out
okay.
by 26.
Okay.
You're right, sorry.
Thank you, Jack, for sharing that. Okay, next item. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an amendment to an ordinance. I'll have Scott talk about this item for us.
Yeah, so if I could just bring your attention to items number 4 and number 5 on our agenda because they go hand in hand. I think actually number 5 is what we want to deal with first. If you can recall, back in November, we had the 2 liquor licenses that the state made as extra licenses available in the city of Warsaw. And we had 2 people who provided written commitments. It was Salvatore's, if you recall, their restaurant, and Taqueria El Camel. I worked together with their attorney, Jack Birch, to write the formal written commitment. And when I was helping write the formal written commitment, we discussed that Hermila Mendoza and her husband operated a restaurant, that it was a family business, that they'd worked together for many years. I mistakenly thought that that meant that they co-owned the business. As it turns out, Hermilia is the sole owner of that business, and the reason that makes a difference is when you apply for your liquor license, you have to put on the liquor license whether you're the sole owner or whether it's owned in a partnership or whether it's owned by a corporation or how it's owned. Their application correctly puts on the liquor license application that it's solely owned by Hermila Mendoza. So in the places where I'd put together in our previous written commitment, me and my husband, those kind of things indicating actual legal type ownership, I was mistaken. It was actually legally only owned by Hermila Mendoza, although she gets great help from her family and she has for many years in operating the restaurant. But it matters to the Alcohol and Beverage Commission that who's the actual owner. So we're bringing this back before you to correctly amend the written commitment to show that it's Hermila Mendoza herself is who owns this, and that so as herself as the sole owner that she's making this commitment. And then if you're willing to accept her formal written commitment to the city of what she plans to do for her restaurant that she owns, then we adopt the ordinance that will amend or replace the 0901, the 2023 0901, where I'd previously made reference to, again, plural ownership. That was a mistake. It should show that it's just solely owned by Hermila Mendoza. But we would need to make those corrections here at the council level so that it can match up our ordinance with what is correctly to go on their liquor license application.
So before we continue, we do have a point of order. The first item you want to look at is the formal written commitment with the city of Warsaw. That's item 5 on the agenda. We then will go to item 4, which is the ordinance. Thanks for clarifying all of that. Any questions about the formal written commitment with the city of Warsaw?
So
Jack is
this-
here. Jack is here. He can answer questions.
And I think Scott did a great job. We probably made some assumptions and weren't paying enough attention. And I should have caught it as well, but things happen.
Working through it, and I appreciate that. Diane, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask them, did this hold up their application and that?
Yes, so they
Yes.
do not have approval yet, and the Alcohol Commission contacted us as the city and just said there's an inconsistency with what we approved in the plural and what the application was in the sole proprietor, and requested that we take appropriate action here at the city level to correct our ordinance to allow the application to move forward as it should be presented as its sole ownership.
We've been in contact with the ATC. It is a matter of getting this corrected and then resubmitting it, and I think we're fine. But we have to get our dot our I's and cross our T's.
Any other questions?
I've gone over the commitment, and I don't see any real changes other than a name, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We took they do still operate it, but they don't own it. She does. That's the only distinction.
So in essence, it's just a
It's
name change.
grammatical.
It's the same thing that
Yes.
we approved in the previous meeting.
Any other questions? I will ask that you formally approve, or at least we call the question on this formal written commitment. And if passed, then we'll go to the ordinance.
So I'll make the motion that we approve the current formal written commitment.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the formal written commitment as amended or presented tonight. You said that right? Okay, good. Any other questions or comments?
So
I just-
for
go ahead.
council, so this is coming to us with your recommendation that clears up the whole mess?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear.
Just a point of clarification, is the restaurant in both their names? Do they both own the restaurant? Okay, so she's gonna own the restaurant and the license?
She has always owned the restaurant, and she will own the license. That would, long story short, I've had communications with both.
Sure.
And my job should be to always ask every question that I should ask. I didn't. So that's how we end up here.
Thanks for the clarification.
Any other questions? Okay, we do have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. We will now go to item number 4, again, point of order. This is the amended ordinance. I'll go back to Scott. Any comments on this?
Again, our amended ordinance, the previous ordinance made reference to theys and Hermelia and her husband. And correctly, the form of the ordinance, since the ownership is singular her and just Hermina, we would ask that we approve ordinance 2024-0301 so that it will amend the previously passed ordinance of 2023-0901 to correctly state the actual true ownership of how the restaurant is owned.
Jack, any comments?
No.
Any questions from the council?
I would move to approve ordinance number 2024-03-01.
I'll second it.
There is a motion and a second on the floor. Any further comments? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Now, this is an ordinance. Are we okay on first reading? Is there a need for?
There would need to be 2 approvals, and I guess my opinion is I feel a bit bad that this has been held up for the approval of the licensing, and it's taken some time, November till now, for the correct version. So you all do what you want, but
Well, I move to suspend rules and have a second reading.
Okay, there's a motion to suspend the rules so we can entertain a second reading. Is there a second?
In this situation, I don't have a problem with that, so I would second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? This would be the motion. The motion is to suspend the rules so we could entertain this on second reading. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the rules have been suspended. You now can, if you want, entertain this on second reading.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance number 2024-0301 on second and final reading.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by Diane, a second by Cindy. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor of passing this ordinance on second reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Will you email that to me or something? Or
if you just stick around, we'll
Okay.
have a signed
All right,
copy
very
for you
good.
here in a
Thanks.
moment.
Thanks, Scott, for your help there. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Good. Any other matters to come before the board?
Could we hear from Captain Beam and Dustin, since they're here, their updates on the ARPA request?
Yeah. Joel, if you'd come up and talk a little bit about use of ARPA funds and just briefly share some of your goals and what you'd like to do with some of those dollars that we're trying to send your way. Thank you.
Absolutely. Critical incidents among first responders is a very big concern. Last year, 135 police officers died in the line of duty. In that same time frame, 135 officers took their own life. I have a bigger chance of killing myself than I do getting shot out on the street. We want to get in front of the problem and not behind the problem. And a lot of this is related to critical incidents. On average, in a city our size, there's 400 critical incidents that I will see, that other officers, other firefighters will see. 400. The average number that a civilian will see is 4. You can't give CPR on a baby that's just a month old and it not affect you. What we are concerned of is the accumulative effect of these calls. And I'm speaking about law enforcement, but it involves law and fire. What I am requesting is for Vector Solutions, it's an app, and it's to track critical incidents. That way we know if Johnny has had really 5 bad calls, we can check on Johnny. And how we are doing this is through a peer support program. So it's not their boss going to go and check on them, it's another peer. And that's being implemented through Paige Wood and RJ Nethaway. And I greatly appreciate their leadership in this. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions?
We got to hear this at Board of Works, and I just wanted you guys to be able to hear the statistics and the need. It's something we don't always think about, the aftershock, if you will.
Yes.
Any questions?
Is there an action to?
No action, just
No action?
clarification from earlier, the ARPA funds and the changing some dollars heading this direction, and just appreciate, Joel, your leadership on this. There's so many others I know, but thank you for sharing with us and continuing to work through all of this.
Absolutely.
So that software, you estimated it'd be at $30,000, but we set aside $35,000. You want to talk about the other $5,000?
So the other $5,000 is when we have a first responder who's having a difficult time and actually has to go into in-house therapy. They have to go someplace. We can't send a policeman to Bowen Center. We can't send a firefighter to Bowen Center. That's where we put people. We need to have somebody, someplace who specifically is trained in first responders. We're a different beast. And one of the places that we go is called Mighty Oaks, and it's in Texas. And they cover the counseling, they cover the week-long stay there, but they don't cover the flight. So the extra $5,000 would be to get that officer, to get that firefighter there, so that we can make sure that he or she is mentally competent and is good to go back in the force.
Any other questions? Thanks again, Joel.
Thank you.
Dustin, comments about the dollars that are heading your direction and what your plans are with it?
Sure. So as most of you remember here, probably a little over a year ago when the ARPA funds first came out, we had sent out a message to take a look at sidewalks and different things for neighborhood infrastructure in your guys' council districts. We had found a larger project where there are a lot of kids walking to school on South Union Street and Kincaid Street. A lot of the sidewalks in those areas are 3 or 4 foot wide. They're not in compliance with our current city standard. Throngs of kids in elementary to middle school to high school walking in that area. So this project is still under engineering right now. Should be ready to go hopefully here in the next month or month and a half for that to be put out for bid. But that would be full replacement, updating ADA standards, the full works on South Union Street from Eagle all the way down to Kincaid, and then from Kincaid, on Kincaid from South Union back out to 15. Along Kincaid Street, if you look at that area, I know Jack, you're probably very familiar with it from your location, but the telephone poles are in the sidewalk itself. There wasn't enough right-of-way to go back, so it's doing a little modification to the curb and gutter, narrowing up the street a little bit to make that safer. Again, this winter we had calls to go down and clean up in the areas. You know, we had students walking out in the street because the sidewalks aren't big enough or weren't maintained. So this is kind of updating that area and make sure the walking school district is safe to travel.
Will putting in new sidewalks on Kincaid narrow the street a bit?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. That street is extremely wide.
It is wide.
Right
And-
there,
And I
so-
think it kind of gives people a little license to maybe go a little fast.
Sure. So yeah, that'll narrow the street up. I believe it was right around 3 feet, is all we needed to keep the same access, update the curb and gutter along through there.
Yeah.
When the state came through, they had updated the ADA ramps and stuff out at 15, so this will be attaching to that and just kind of upgrading that whole region right there.
And yet Kincaid will be a proper width for a street.
Correct.
In its area.
With curb face sidewalks, our current standard is to have it 6 feet wide when it's up against the curb, but if there's separation, our standard is 5 foot. So a lot of those areas are just, the sidewalks are just out of date. There's not the proper ADA ramps and stuff in that
I'll
area
bet that
as well.
sidewalk's at least 40 years old,
Oh,
Well,
sure.
at least.
at least, because I've lived out there most of my life.
Probably when Washington was put in.
Yes, yes, and the old building came down, the 6-room school building when it came down.
I'm dating myself, the Little League scoreboards and those sidewalks. Yeah, so. Good.
So it will be a nice advancement for our walking school.
And there are a lot of kids walking on Union Street.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
A lot of kids walking on Union Street.
So again, that should be, we're kind of waiting with to see what, where our CCMG projects come back. We should know very soon with those to kind of line out some additional funding and stuff, but this will be ready to put out for bid, so.
Now, if we could just do something about the street intersection. In the morning, that place is a dream.
Talk to the state.
You know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Dustin, for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Any other matters? Council, anything?
Chris, did you have anything? Okay.
No?
Our next meeting will be when?
Uh,
April 15th?
April 1st, there is no business. We will not meet. Whitney was checking with all the department heads and going through that, and so there won't be a council meeting on the 1st. So Lynn, thanks for catching that. So I'm looking at Monday, the 15th. Lynn, you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. So our next council meeting would be Monday, April 15th.
When would be the next Board of Works then, so I can prompt people on getting those invoices in?
Board of Works, the next meeting will be on Monday, April 8th, not Friday. It will be on Monday, April 8th.
April 8th, okay.
I think in the past, that has been moved because of the timing of the
Okay.
of April, 1st of April. So that's Monday, the 8th, Board of Works. Any other matters?
Are all other scheduled meetings that first week of April going to happen?
Yeah, I'm looking on mine, and the only one I'm seeing right now, so be careful. Warsaw Wayne Township Fire Protection Territory meeting on the 2nd
Okay.
at 4 PM, but I don't see anything else, and then you might be able to help me with
Traffic,
that.
you guys gonna meet?
No.
No? Okay.
When's the redevelopment commission? When do they usually meet?
That would have been Monday, the 1st.
Yeah, so I haven't heard anything about that one.
I'll check
And I
with
don't
Jeremy.
see it on mine, I apologize. It's
Okay,
not on my
I'll check with Jeremy.
agenda.
You have parks down for the 16th.
Yes, I do have parks
Okay.
for Tuesday, the 16th. Then the second Board of Works would be on Friday, the 19th. I apologize, I didn't, Lynn, good catch. That's all I'm seeing right now, as far as I'm taking.
Okay.
Okay. Any other matters?
City Hall will be open that week?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any questions or comments from visitors that are here? Thanks for attending tonight. Anybody? Any questions or comments? Okay. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Have a safe trip home. Thank you.
Did he say it?
My two students don't leave yet.